Why don't churches address hard topics like this, and this meaning racial injustices or the killings that happen?
To your question, it's not the black churches because they've been addressing this since slavery, since Jim Crow, since the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
It's our white brothers and sisters who are not addressing this. And if I can be frank,
the
reason why they are not addressing this because it will cost them something. It will cost them something, right? But if you make statements like Black Lives Matter, if you make statements like I announce white supremacy, if you make statements like that, that is going to offend your base. And you are more concerned about offending your base than looking more like Jesus. That's why they don't bring that stuff up. The second thing I would say is some of them are not even aware of these things.
Yeah.
Not from the standpoint that they can't see it on social media and things of that nature, but it's not affecting them. And because it's not affecting them, why would we ever bring that up in the church? It's not affecting them, And so that's why you don't see our white brothers and sisters, our white siblings speaking out against injustice because it will cost something. Here's a quote that I wrote down from a book called Divided by Faith. And I think this quote really sums it up in regards to why you see specifically in white evangelicalism, why you don't see them speaking out against some of these things. Listen to this. Evangelicals usually fail to challenge the system, not just out of concern for evangelicalism, but also because they support the American system and enjoy its fruit. They share the Protestant work ethic, support the laissez-faire economics, and sometimes fail to evaluate whether the social system is consistent with their Christianity. There's fruit in this.
Yeah.
There's economics in this.
Yeah.
And they're not filtered at times through a biblical frame of reference.
Yeah.
And if they do, oftentimes, I like to say, what they do to the cross, they focus on the vertical reality, but they saw off the horizontal needs. They focus on loving God, but they miss loving their neighbors. They're more concerned about being reconciled to God than understanding that we're also called to be reconciled with our brothers. That's why they don't bring these things up.
Man, see, a thing that I said previously, because John is first, and that's the reason why we're doing this study in First John chapter 3 specifically, but the whole entire context of First John is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible, said it previously, it's impossible to love a God if you can't even love the person that's sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
And so one thing that kind of came to my mind is like a cross is nothing but two planks if it's not put together.
Yeah.
That is the gospel. You have to have the vertical connection and relationship with Jesus, with God via Jesus, but also that has a horizontal expression.
Yeah.
To have one without the other is really to have nothing at all.
Yeah.
And so that is the reason is basically some folks scared to lose their money, but so our response, so if you feel like you are in that position as a member of a church and you as a pastor, what would you say to said member, or even if somebody within our body said, hey pastor, I want you to address this topic, even though we do, but I want you to address this topic. What is something that you would say to either a pastor of somebody that's thinking like, I want to adjust it, but I'm kind of, I'm kind of in between of addressing this thing because of my supporters, or a member that's struggling and saying my pastor is not addressing these issues. How do I wrestle with this?
Yeah. Man, one of the things I always tell people, man, have you went and talked to your pastor?
Good.
Right? Like,
Good.
have you went and talked to them? Have you went and sat down and not just bring the complaint, but also bring the solutions? Like, hey, pastor, these are real issues. These are why they are real issues. If we don't address these issues, then this is what's going to happen. These are some of the things that we can do, like build the bridge, like read this. You want to go and talk to your pastors.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, instead of going to talk to our pastors, oftentimes we talk to everybody else. And that causes dissension.
Yeah.
All right. The second thing you must understand, ask yourself the question, has God called me here? And if God has called you here, then you have to work through the tough conversations, the tough things, until you see the progression that God has placed you there for. You know, you gotta deal with those things. And then lastly, you may have to ask the question: has God called me here? You know, and if God hasn't called you here to kind of work from the inside out, then you have to ask yourself, God, where are you calling me to?
Yeah.
What are some things I had to learn here so that I can be a benefit to the next mission that you have called me to?
Yeah.
You know, because you know, it's one thing to be there and not learn anything. Be there, learn some things so that you may be a comfort to other people.
Amen.
So talk to your pastor. Make sure that God has called you there so that you can work from the inside out. And then finally, if he hasn't called you there, know exactly what he has taught you in that season so that you can go help the next mission.
Amen. Amen. Well, cool. You heard it here first. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to say after that, Amy. He said it all. He said it all. All right, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, man, for this segment. Thank you for asking that question. We got a couple more that we're going to be addressing, so stay tuned. Here we go. Peace. Love y'all.